It's becoming quite chic and fashionable these days, and it has been for the past several years, to lump Abraham Lincoln into the same group of left-wing heroes and titans of American history and world history. Obama was one of the first people to kind of make this comparison, and of course, the liberal media ate it up. They absolutely made a million and one comparisons between Lincoln and Obama, not the least of which because they both came from Illinois, which instead of being a badge of honor, I'm pretty sure today being a politician from the state of Illinois should be pretty much so a sin against man because that state is virtually bankrupt on all accords and on all counts. Now, Lincoln and Obama actually really share nothing in common politically, and Lincoln has no real connection with the American left. He is not part of that tradition in any sense of the word. Lincoln instead came from a long tradition of first Federalist, then Whigs, and then later Republicans. And in order to understand the essence of his political beliefs, you need to look at where they come from in the grand scope and scale of American history. So, the first political party in America was the Federalist Party. And the Federalist Party was started by Alexander Hamilton and John Adams, both of whom detested slavery, um, though they could not, end it obviously in their lifetimes, given the political instability of the early United States and the tedious position it was in. They nonetheless believed in a strong national character as opposed to more liberal and left-wing Democratic Republicans. So the Democratic Republicans and the Federalists were the first two political rivals. In the 1800 election, the Federalists began to wax and wane and eventually dissolved and were replaced by the ascended Whigs. Now, the Whigs were founded because of their opposition to Andrew Jackson. Now, Andrew Jackson is one of the most important political figures in American history. He was a true populist through and through. He truly believed that he could use the will of the people to pursue his own ends of political power. He opposed the creation of a national bank, which would, in theory, fund a series of what they called in the time internal improvements, what we would call today infrastructure projects. And this is not because Jackson, was opposed to deficit spending. It was because he and the fellow Democrats believed that creating a national bank was the easiest way for the rich and powerful to gain control of the federal government. And so they opposed the creation of a large national bank, but instead were very much so supportive of the idea of many state banks instead to help fund these projects. Opposing them were the Whigs, and like I said, the Whigs were instead more of a nationalistic party. They were a traditionalist, they were a conservative party in the sense that they supported strong economic growth even at the expense, sure, of total social equality. They were endorsed by skilled workers, by the growing middle class, and they were the standard bearers of the Federalist legacy of wanting to create a civil identity, a national identity, and to that end create a strong central government that reflected that. Lincoln was a proud political descendant of Henry Clay, one of the greatest senators of American political history. Clay created the Whig Party, but unfortunately also saw its demise. When Lincoln became president of these United States in 1860, his first task was of course, to save the Union. But he knew that after the trauma of disillusion and near total collapse, that the moral cause of the war, of the Civil War, truly was the abolition of slavery. And Lincoln's major life project and his total political project was about expanding that sense of nationhood. It wasn't creating an identity politics that we see today by so many people on the left. He would have been instead in favor of a national political identity, not rooted in resentment, not rooted in anything postmodern or neo-Marxist. He would instead support a system in which, out of many identities, we all shape ourselves in the national identity and the national striving towards to be the best version of ourselves. This is the national ethos that really was what makes America America. And the market-based economy is the best way to do that, he believed, and it still is. Now, during the Civil War, actually, most industrialists, most capitalists were definitely on the side of the Union. You know, we have Andrew Carnegie here, who really helped save Washington, D.C. from being overrun by the Confederacies. He helped restore the railroads leading to and from Washington, D.C., so as to block Confederate troops from entering in the city. John D. Rockefeller, from his earliest days was an ardent abolitionist. Endorsed Lincoln, endorsed the Republicans, contributed to the war effort as best he could. He knew he couldn't give up he knew he couldn't sign on to the war, and this was actually something that he would come to regret in his later life because of the precarious position that his empire was in. Now, I'm not saying that John D. Rockefeller was a great guy. I don't think anyone should. The Rockefeller family to this day are a pretty controversial bunch of guys, and I do not really support a lot of their worldwide efforts. But nonetheless, you know, he was a big supporter of the abolition of slavery. Johns Hopkins, another one, an industrialist from Baltimore, a slave state, up until the abolition of slavery. Probably the single most hated man in Baltimore at the time for his position on ending slavery, but nonetheless, he is well regarded today as one of the most influential business tycoons, one of the greatest, really like the first modern philanthropist, really, in the modern sense of the term. So just really a man of great principle and of character. So there really is no need to draw these distinctions that Lincoln is somehow a left-wing hero, or the cause of the Union Army was to Union Army, was to create a socialist utopia. The cause of the Union Army was to preserve and grow the concept of America, to grow and preserve the concept of liberty to all people of all races, of all backgrounds. That's what makes our country truly unique in the world, and we should repel these claims that are being made left from coming from the left, that this is somehow, that slavery is somehow inexplicably linked to capitalism. Nothing can be further from the truth. And we see that the rise of industrial capitalism in the West is linked to the decline of slavery across the world. This is an argument that used to be, for the most part, universally supported by most people in academia, but has made something of a revenge. And so in this video, I hope you guys gained a little bit more of a perspective about Lincoln's political foresights. He would have absolutely been a supporter of the political program that was being pushed in France by modernizers such as Napoleon III and others. So we need to continue that Lincoln legacy going forward and see Lincoln truly as a model for conservative civic nationalism. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to like and subscribe and comment below, and I'll see you in the next one.